Now, I was actually asked to talk to you guys real quick about a couple different things before this upcoming race in 2 days. And a couple things that I was asked to go over. First of all, has to do with this. You guys all recognize this?
No. It's our jersey.
That jersey.
That's my jersey.
So, I was asked to talk about what this represents, the importance of this. But in order to really do that, I thought it'd be fitting if I first talk about the importance of this.
Buy that one.
Most of you guys have never seen this before. Yeah. Old timers in the room know what I'm talking about. Most of you guys have never seen this before. But this. But basically, this was our jersey, if you want to call it that, a long time ago. All right. For the people that are ancient like I am, you might still have this. But basically, this symbolizes a lot of things that we have moved away from in a good way. Because back in the day when we actually wore this for races, it was about 4 years ago, I think. And I joined the team 4 years ago, actually, fall quarter of my freshman year. And at that time, this team was relatively new. It had been founded about 2 years prior, I believe, by this girl named Sasana. Some of you guys know her, and most of you don't. She was from NorCal, Lowell High School. And I'm going to make reference to that, so you guys should learn that now. Basically, at that time, UCSD Dragon Boat was a recreational team. When I first joined, a lot of people who were on the team had no experience whatsoever. So it was kind of just for fun, you know. Nobody really had any high expectations to win or do well. It was more of a thing that you just did on the weekend if you really wanted to. And back then we had 7 a.m. practices. I remember waking up at like 6 in the morning on a Saturday or Sunday, and we would have to go to Mission Bay and be there by 7. So those of you guys who are complaining about 8:30, shut up, please. So we had to be there we had to be at the lake. At 7 o'clock. Sorry. So I have to turn this off.
Silence.
For those of you guys who were around, you'll know that I wasn't around for the first 2 years. I was a member of this team. I wasn't around for 2 years. Part of the reason for that, I'll be honest, is because I didn't believe in this team. I didn't think that they had any chance to win. And for the most part, I was right for 2 years. This team was pretty bad. They were horrible for 2 years. Until the 4th year of its existence, this team was horrible. And it wasn't until the 05-06 season that things started turning around. If you guys look at this table full of awards and medals and trophies, you'll notice that the years don't date farther than 2006. And the reason isn't because we're hiding the awards. It's funny because Teresa asked me where the awards before that. We had none before this. There were none, absolutely none, before 06. And some of you guys may be wondering what changed between now and then. And I'll be honest, one of the things that changed was that we stopped wearing that stupid jersey. But the real reason why we started doing better is because we got new people. You see, the people who were within the team, we had rollover, and we had a good recruiting class. And that was the year that a lot of people that are in now first joined the team. And I would say the most important piece of the team that joined that year were our strokers, Gavin and Teeny. Right there. And I want to point this out for a very special reason, because ever since that time they joined, UCSD Dragon Boat has skyrocketed through the roof. We have never finished worse than second in any race in 6 consecutive races. And if you don't believe me, you can check the website. It's on there, documented. We've only had one major defeat in 6 races, and that was last year in Long Beach. And I'll talk about that a little later because that's significant. But 6 consecutive races, guys, never worse than second. So basically, that was the foundation that was being laid for what I like to call a dynasty. Because if you don't do worse than second for over 2.5 years, you're pretty damn good. And we became the best team in California. And I used to brag about that to my sister who goes up to Davis. And a lot of the teams in NorCal, because NorCal teams some of them are actually better than some of the SoCal teams, but understand that UCSD shot from being horrible, they were nothing where I was involved, to the best team in California. And unfortunately, some things that came along with that weren't all great and good. One of the bad things that came with that was that, unfortunately, some of us have kind of taken winning for granted. And that's kind of what one of the main things I want to talk about is taking winning for granted. Because you can't really blame somebody who came in the last 2 years who take winning for granted. You can't blame them because, to me, I think that you can't really appreciate winning if you've never lost. If that makes sense. You can't really understand how sweet it is to be victorious if you've never suffered a defeat, an agonizing defeat, one that's really close and you work your butt off and then you lose. If you never experienced that, you'll never know what the joy is to win, how sweet it is. And for some of you guys who have won, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you guys who have never lost, I consider you guys a little bit lucky and a little bit young. But we all go through it once in a while. And the reason I talk about that is because we're coming off of a defeat just like that from Arizona. And the reason I talk about the last race in Long Beach is because that was the first major defeat we've had in over 2 years. And Arizona being one of the first time we've lost since then. Now, I don't consider Arizona a major defeat. You guys lost by less than 1 second. In Long Beach, for those of you guys who weren't around, the team finished 7th out of 7 teams. 7 college teams. They finished dead last. They went from being the best team in California to finishing dead last. Even to Davis. It's disgusting, as my sister goes like. They were a really bad team. It was a horrible, horrible defeat. And for a lot of us, it was shocking, you know, to go from the best to 7th and dead last. Now, there's a lot of things that led up to that, but I don't want to talk about that. What I want to talk about is what we did after that. Because for those of you guys who weren't around after that, we went up to NorCal, San Francisco, Lake Merced, and we raced. And if you guys haven't seen the YouTube video, which I'm sure all of you guys probably have, came from behind and won. I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about, right? So, what was the difference? Well, the difference is because we actually wanted to win again. Does that make sense? After that defeat, people actually really and truly wanted to win again. And that's a different mentality. I'm here to talk to you guys about mentality today. That's the main thing. But in order to get my point across, I actually wanted to tell you guys, or teach you guys a couple lessons that I've learned in the past 7 years I've been involved in this sport, which is a long time, but that's why I feel old. But a couple lessons that I want to share with you guys, and I hope you guys bear with me. It's going to take a few minutes. Hopefully you guys don't fall asleep too much. But basically, it's a short story. So it starts with 7 years ago. I first got involved my sophomore year of high school, and I went to this school called Washington up in San Francisco. Some of you guys know what that is if you're from the Bay. For those of you guys who don't know what Washington is and what it represents, we were the model for mediocrity. That's why I like to refer to it as. Because we never finished best or better than 3rd place. And if we finished 3rd, it was a success for us. It was victory. because the top 2 teams were our rivals Lowell and Lincoln. Some of you guys are from there. These 2 teams were undisputedly the best 2 high school teams in the West Coast. The best. So good that they got sent to China to race nationally. These are really good teams. And we looked at them, they were on this pedestal for us, while we were in the middle, mediocre. Now, we never even had a chance to compete with them until a year after I got started, a year and a half almost. It's the end of my junior year. And I'll never forget this one race. It was in Lake Merced. Sorry, it was in Lake Merced, springtime. Now, I was a junior, and when I first got started on that team, there was only 1 boat. By the time I was a junior, we had about 2.5 boats. And in this one semifinal heat, we raced against 4 teams. The only team that really mattered in that race was Lowell's B team. Now, I was a member of the A team in Washington, and I had a big ego. Now, for those of you guys who were listening carefully to my story, I just told you that we were the mediocre team. So I had no reason to be confident or cocky, but I kind of was. I remember sitting at the starting line, I looked over at this boat next to us, and I was thinking to myself, man, look at these scrubs. We're going to kill them. We're going to try. It's a B team, right? And we're the A team. I remember thinking that very clearly in my head. I could not have been more wrong because we ended up losing that race by a lot. It wasn't even close. We got killed. Now, I remember. It's okay. You guys can laugh. It's cool. Now, I remember.
No laughing.
I remember this race. Now, I remember sitting at the finish line, looking at them as they did their cheer. And those of you guys who have been in NorCal, you'll know that Lowell has the most annoying cheer in the history of Dragon Boat. No, you don't guys. If you're on Lowell, you're not gonna agree. But from us outside, everyone else, that's the most annoying cheer in the history of all of Dragon Boat. So